because you look at the behavior of the security forces on this matter. And three, you can see, blatantly, a case of, determination on the part of government to engage in this level of violence. From my experience, I want to tell Kenyans very sincerely, I do not think and I cannot see how the scale of violence in Homa Bay and the activity that happened there could have happened without the knowledge of the National Security Council and without the knowledge especially of the president. Because I have been in that environment before. The president receives executive intelligence briefings wherever he is, even if he is in Greenland or attending the UN General Assembly. Such intelligence information is gathered and the president is briefed very regularly. So when you look at what happened in Homa Bay, it's crime at industrial scale. The planning, you can see clearly the choreography, the management of that, and the resources that could have been spent in that clearly shows you that this is something that was premeditated, it had been happening, it was planned. The next question you ask is, where was the county security team led by the county commissioner in Homa Bay? Where was the regional security team led by the regional commissioner in Kisumu? In most cases, unless the operations of government have changed in a very significant manner, and my dear Kenyans, listen to me, this is something I know like the back of my hand. Unless the management of government has changed in any significant manner, the situation in Homa Bay is one where even the regional police commander should have taken control and taken over the command of what was happening in Homa Bay and assembled resources. I am aware, because that the deployment has not changed. I am aware that in that region, the police have got even special resources. There are border police, there is a GSU. They would have been able to mobilize sufficient resources to address what was happening, but they couldn't, because clearly there was a sense of acceptance on the part of the security forces that ought to have happened. The tragedy of it all is that now we have been warning everybody, and that's why I'm not going to go into those, usual silly niceties of saying we warn, we condemn. We are already in a crisis. We have now begun our final descension into anarchy as a country. Let's not pretend about it. When you look at the scale of destruction, the pain and the losses in Homa Bay, into chaos. The president and his government have chosen. Because ask yourself the question, you can go far back to the attacks in Odaya, when Rigathi Gachagua was going to church and he was attacked there by armed people and so on. All the way the 3 weeks ago or 4 weeks ago, when Linda Mwananchi convoy was stoned in a place called Keumbu in Kisii. Those guys were arrested, they were to court on Monday. There wasn't a prosecutor, there wasn't a file, there was nothing. The magistrate released them, they walked away. When the local member of parliament was invited to record a statement by the DCI, he did not as much as stand up. We lost a life there, a gentleman called Mapinduzi. We buried him a while ago, and that story is gone. We are going on. No investigations done, no arrests, nothing. 2 weeks earlier, elected leaders, members of the county assembly in Kisii, were beaten up by thugs in the center of town at 9 a.m. in the morning. When I arrived there with a bunch of lawyers to see these guys in hospital, the police officers were telling me they don't have B3, all manner of these silly excuses you keep hearing all the time. To this day, no one has been arrested or prosecuted about that. The county government there in Kisii is running a militia, terrorizing people at night, going to estates, beating up people and so on, with the acquiescence of the police. Because the police know this. And everywhere in the country, you saw online last week what happened here in Allingham 1 month ago on Thika Road. 9 o'clock in the morning, thugs closed the road and terrorized people. We have begun our final descension into chaos. The question now for us as Kenyans is, how do we approach this and what are we going to do? So we are beyond condemning, beyond threatening, beyond asking for action. I think for me, beginning now, and I will consult with my colleagues in the opposition, we are going to have a retreat next week, and all Kenyans of goodwill, let us now engage our thoughts and minds on how are we going to deal with this government. Because this is not ordinary business. What you are seeing here is not ordinary business. There are no arrests. The political difference is not a good enough excuse to inflict the kind of loss and pain that we have seen this weekend. And while we are on that, and I will discuss more of this when I get another opportunity, there's stuff that people are not talking about. The government has decided to now begin, in addition to terrorizing opposition leaders. If you did not know, and some of my staffers are here, they will tell you, they began a new wave of digital terrorism against the opposition. They have acquired resources from some criminal groups in the nation country, and they are accessing social media accounts of opposition leaders. These days, we get trailed, and my staffers can bear me out. We get trailed by vehicles, I believe they belong to the state, with jammers. We stop to address rallies, our Wi-Fi is interfered with, you cannot communicate. I was checking with my staffers who were checking with the team that Rigathi Gachagua was traveling with over the weekend. They began experiencing the same challenges on the trail. And these are jammers. I believe this is the work of the state. Who has the capacity to do that? You have seen unprecedented investment in propaganda, fake news, and so on. Last week you saw a letter a statement purportedly authored by Kanze Dena, the communication head of the fourth president, claiming that President Kenyatta has said he's not going to meet with Rigathi Gachagua and so on and so forth. All that is the work of the state. Now the state is investing huge amounts of money in propaganda, in fake news, and so on, targeting the opposition and so on, instead of focusing on the challenges we have as a country. All these are acts of a government that is not interested in the order and stability of the country. And let us not delude ourselves. Let us not delude ourselves. Countries that have begun this path this way end up like some of our neighbors. The level of anarchy in the country and the evidence of state failure is all over, is replete. And by the way, we talk to senior officers even in the security sector. They are demoralized, they are so frustrated. Where do we get some of this information? Is senior security officers, some of who talk to us, and they are equally demoralized. They are frustrated. They tell you all these things. They say this is unprecedented. The level of state-supported or state-tolerated crime against the people of Kenya is unacceptable. So I think the government has made its choice on this particular matter. It's now upon the people of Kenya to also now make their choice. And this is not going to come easily like that. It's going to require all of us to have conversations, consult one another, plan, and take a course that we believe, first of all, is lawful and preservative of our country, and then see how else we can address this problem. Otherwise, we are not going to reverse this. You know, our fellow citizens who happen to be in power, President Ruto and his colleagues, imagine unwisely that access to instruments of power guarantees you control and management of this for a long time. They are so wrong, and they will discover how wrong they are shortly. The unfortunate thing is that it will be at the expense of lives such as those that were lost in Homa Bay. Because none of us, you know, you can't terrorize the public as a way of surviving, because the repercussions are dire. When wananchi begin to respond to this terrorism, to this madness by the state, you will not be able to control the country. You are radicalizing the country to a point where you won't be able to control it. When people rise up against this, it's going to be completely uncontrollable. Because ask yourself the question, these people you are paying, these thugs you are paying and goons and all that, to terrorize your opponents, when they are done terrorizing your opponents, what are they going to do? They are going to turn on you, first of all. They will come to your houses. They will want this money. You are socializing them to a consistent supply of income through crime. And that is not going to be the way of sustaining our country. Finally, because we are in this, and then let's be very honest with each other. We've not been here before as a country. This is unprecedented. It's unusual. And I'm not going to waste my time saying we condemn this in the strongest terms possible. We are done with condemning. How many times are we going to condemn? Memoranda has been taken to the Inspector General of Police. Representation has been done to the parliamentary committees. Faith-based leaders. Because if I am in leadership and people speak to me the way the Conference of Catholic Bishops spoke, I would actually be worried. The PCA bishops and all these people, if you are a leader and your religious leaders in your country speak to you the way these leaders have been speaking, you of course to be concerned and do the right thing. But it's abundantly clear they don't care. They just simply don't care. They're playing for one thing: survival. And nothing matters. The independent institutions will be abused. Security sector institutions will be abused, so that one end is achieved: political survival. Unfortunately, the cost is very high. So I take this opportunity, painfully and sadly, to convey our condolences as a party to those who lost their lives yesterday, including a Form 3 student. That's how low we have sunk. Then urge my colleagues in the opposition that time now has come when our sense of commitment to opposition unity is going to be tested. Our sense of patriotism is going to be tested. Our nerves are going to be frayed. Our patience is going to be taxed. And the temptations even to split us are real. What gift could you give this government than seeing opposition leaders either calling each other names in public? We as Jubilee are determined to stay in this for the long haul. We will play our even we ourselves do not like, or things that table and discuss them. We will not fall into the trap of breaking the first commandment when you are at war: thou shalt not turn fire on your compatriot. The challenges we have are coming from one direction, the government of the day, and now is the time for us to cross ranks, work together, and ensure that we do the right thing for the country. I pray that we fall into those temptations of focusing on each other and criticizing each other, and sometimes using language that is intemperate. Patience is being tested. Some of these things are done by government so that we can fight amongst ourselves. We must refuse to walk down that. We as Jubilee are going to refuse to walk down that path. We will work together to ensuring that unity prevails, to ensure that we stay together and move forward to deliver this country challenges it now faces. The worst, the crime and insecurity initiated, supported by elements of government. Finally, before I finish, you wonderful people in the press, I want you to check this on your own. Over the years, when we were in government, we always periodically did a mop-up of small arms in the wrong hands because of where we find ourselves as a country. We have porous borders around us, and we have conflict virtually in every one of our neighborhoods. And because of that, we sustained that practice of mopping small arms and burning them every so often. What is harrowing to me, even with the knowledge I have on how the security sector operates, there were armed people in that Homa Bay meeting, some of them shooting. Nobody knows whether they are actually people from the disciplined groups. My sense and suspicion is that there are far too many small arms in the wrong hands in the country. which is now fueling up the confidence of criminals and criminal activity. Now, how do we go to an election in that kind of environment? I don't want to say we're asking the government. This is common sense. It's something they know they ought to do. It's something they know they ought to do. And if they are not doing it, they are not doing it deliberately because they have an end they want to achieve. I cannot imagine how, with the kind of security resources we have in the country and the kind of infrastructure we have, we could see the violence in the scale of what we saw in Homa Bay. For 2 days, a rural county in Kenya is actually under the spell and control of criminals. For 2 days. And we behave as if this is normal. I have done my duty as a leader on behalf of my colleagues. I have pointed out to the country and I have warned that we have begun our final descension into chaos and anarchy in this country. The question is, what are we going to do as a people? My suggestion is we will have to sit down, consult all actors and choose which path we are going to follow. Because we are beyond that idea of saying we condemn what happened yesterday. We are beyond condemnation. That's what we do every time. And you know, I want to tell fellow Kenyans, people know that I usually speak bluntly this way. Let's stop this pretense. You know, we are not dealing with a normal situation now in the country. We are not. Where? When you see those kinds of things happening, and who will tell me who? The county commissioner or the regional commissioner to tell me that that kind of stuff would happen in your area of jurisdiction and you don't have backing from your bosses to witness that kind of nonsense going on there, where citizens are being hurt and being maimed because of politics in broad daylight. The government has chosen that. That's why it's happening. And the deployment of resources, you can see clearly this was very well choreographed. It was very well planned. You don't have to be, you know, you can tell the amount of resources being involved, the level of mobilization. The leaders in that area who are organizing that had been swearing all week. And no one is arrested these days. No one is charged in a court of law with that kind of violence. The level of impunity has gone to new levels. And so the question you ask is, do you actually believe that you can continue doing that in this country for the next 11 months and hope that there will be a country after that? The greatest question to Kenyans today and always is, which way Kenya? Are we going to allow our country to burn? Because it's clear, we have begun that path. Or are we going to allow our country to be destroyed? We must answer that question with a resounding no and follow it up with action. The action is we will sit together and figure out what legal way do we go forward, what do we do. All of us who are interested in the stability of the country, political power and all these things are secondary to the lives of our people, to the stability of our nation. Kenya is much more important than any one of us. This is something we have to think and act about. Thank you. Crispin, yeah, I'd say we are good. And I mean, unless there's something burning on this particular subject, please. We are having a retreat, an opposition retreat on 24th and 25th of this month. And among other things, of course, we are going to discuss the electoral environment and what we need to do as we go forward. And we are going to try to reach as many Kenyans as possible within the leadership and decision-making community. The focus being my brothers and sisters, and many of you who are here at this press conference are people, smart, very well-educated people. Do you actually think this is the way we should run our country? Do you think this is the way we should manage our country? I mean, how? You know, I've said before, by the way, this is something I need to point out. You know, when we comment about things and been written on Kenya in the countdown to elections, predict that we are going to have violence. The Kofi Annan Foundation, I mean, the report is now public, you can see it. I saw the other day a report that was done by private investors from EU are interested in Kenya. I even made an interview I did another day. All of them are raising issues about the security of the country going forward because of these wounds and the level of crime in the country. Concerned about the way we are managing our country, not necessarily in the build-up to elections, but the general attitude of the government towards the management of the country. You know, when you look at our leaders and the kind of speeches that come from their mouths, it's shocking. You wonder whether we live in the same place. And I'm saying this with all the seriousness I can master. We are destroying our country for purposes of politics. The president and the government are playing, you know, just for survival. And then because of that, anything goes. We can't lose lives day in, day out on simple matters. I mean, I've often asked the question, if from Kiambu, for example, or you come from Muranga, and the UDA leader, why should you interfere with them? They're not carrying away the residents of Muranga, they are leaving them behind. They were not carrying away the residents of Homa Bay. They were coming to talk to the residents of Homa Bay. They go away. The residents of Homa Bay would be there forever to be talked to by anyone else who wants to talk to them, including their local leaders, to convince them and tell them Nanji was telling them is not right or wrong, whatever the case may be. That's how civilized people behave. Is that a good enough reason to cause the level of mayhem we saw? So we have a problem. You know, let's stop this pretense. We have a serious problem. And it's abundantly clear the government has chosen, the president and the government have chosen this as a way of life. Because there is no way, I can tell you, trust me, I have been a minister of security. There's no way that